Hi, everyone. I'm Melissa Stoller. I'm a published picture book and chapter book author. I'm also a blogger with Mira's Children's Book Academy, Blogfish, and I'm also an assistant in many of Mira's classes. I'm really excited to be with you today in the picture book Palooza. Thank you so much to Mira for setting this up, and of course, thanks for thinking about me and including me, and I'm really happy to be here today. So what I'm going to be talking about is plot and pacing and page turns in picture books. So first, I'm going to talk about plot, then pacing, and then I'll go through 5 examples from recent picture books that had really good examples of pacing and page turns. So first, plot. Generally, we think about plot as the arc of the story. You always have the beginning, the middle, and the end, of course. So first, you start at the beginning. You start with the opening, and that includes the setting, because it's really important for little children to have a fully grounded setting, a world that they can understand. Then you have to talk about who the main character is. Children love character-driven and plot-driven books, so they love to get a feel for who that main character is. And also you want to know what the usual world is for that character. What's been going on in that character's world that's about to change. Then you move on to that change, and that's usually called the inciting incident. That's the incident in picture books that causes the problem, that upsets the usual world that the character has found themselves in all this time. It's the incident that the main character has to overcome. Next, the main character has to overcome these obstacles that are set out by the inciting incident. Usually, according to the rules of picture books, those obstacles come in threes. 3 is a really big number, as I'm sure you know, in picture book writing. So these 3 obstacles are always of increasing tension and also of increasing weight, and the main character has to overcome them. Then at the climax of the story, the main character is about to overcome that last obstacle finally, and then there's something called the dark night of the soul. I love the title of that kind of structure, that structure point in the picture book. It means it's the darkest moment for the main character, where the main character is just about given up, like just about at the darkest moment. They can't even imagine how they could possibly resolve all these obstacles, and then they face a final choice. And hopefully it's that choice that leads to the ending of the picture book, the resolution and ending, where the main character resolves the obstacles and the story ends on a happy note. And if it's not a happy note, then at least it's a hopeful note. And then perhaps at the end, there's a slight twist or a surprise at the very end. And I love when there's a little surprise. Even sometimes it's an illustration note that brings you to another point in the story that's a little bit of a twist, which is always a lot of fun. So those are like the main story arc points. And the question is, how do you, as the author, or the illustrator, how do you keep the reader interested in all these plot points? Well, one technique is to create engaging page turns. So page turns act as cliffhangers to keep the reader engaged and turning the pages of the book to get to the end of the book. And that's really your goal in a picture book. As you know, every page, every story point has to propel the story forward. There are no wasted words in picture books. There are no wasted scenes. Everything keeps the reader going forward till the very end. And in a really effective way to continue that is to do really good page turns. A page turn can create anticipation. It can show drama. It can highlight humor or surprise or suspense. And also page turns really do a good job of controlling the pacing of the story, which again is really crucial to a good picture book. And the text and the illustrations each have really important and different roles in developing effective page turns for the picture book. So first I'll talk about text and then we'll get to illustration. So in the text, as an author, your job is to keep the story going. Here are some techniques that you can use to create an effective page turn. Words such as until, then, and, but, and also the use of ellipses, those 3 dots. Those all can signal an upcoming page turn. And in my books, I love using the ellipses, the 3 dots. I don't like to overuse them, but I like them as a page turn technique. An author can also, as a way to create a good page turn, can ask a question on one page and then provide the answer on the following page, so that the reader feels compelled to turn the page to get to the resolution, the answer. Also, an author can use cause and effect language that encourages the reader to flip the page to figure out, okay, here was the cause and what's the effect going to be, and that's always shown on the next page to keep the reader going. Similarly, an illustrator has a lot of techniques that they can use as well. Here are a couple. An illustrator can feature a comical scene on one page where the reader really wants to flip the page to see more and to see like the resolution of that particular comic scene or joke. An illustrator can start an illustration on one page and ends on the next, and I'll show you an example of that. An illustrator can also include a visual storyline that may or may not have been indicated in the text, but it could be, for example, a little bird that's placed in the story, and that little bird has a storyline that may be concurrent to the text or may be something totally different from the text. But kids really enjoy finding that little surprise element that has its own little storyline that the children can follow through from the beginning to the end, and that helps them flip the pages, and it gives them like an extra satisfying storyline that may not have even been part of the story to begin with. So now I'm going to show you 5 examples of these are new picture books. They all have great plots, and they all have really good pacing page turn techniques. So the first is Noah Noahsaurus. It's by Elaine Keeley-Kearns and illustrated by Colin Jack. And I love this title, Noah Noahsaurus. So cute. So the first page turn that I really liked is, I'll just read a little bit of it. Noah's a dinosaur. And it says, Noah climbed over a jagged rock, but the other dinosaurs followed. He crawled through a log, but the dinosaurs followed. He jumped over a massive puddle and ... So hopefully the little reader is going to want the page turned, because what's going to happen when he crawled over that massive puddle? You want to find out what happens there. Splat. And that's a nice payoff. And then the second example is, I'll just start from here. But Noah's plan did not go as he hoped. Left, right, left, right. Aren't you coming, Noah? Asked Toby Rex. Noah looked down at his muddy self. He looked up at his muddy friends. Then he opened his mouth and let out a great big dinosaur, ... She did a good job with the ellipses. And of course, you have to know, what did he let out? A great big dinosaur what? So you turn the page and find rah, 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 which is really cute. And it's a nice full page spread also, nice payoff. So those I think are going to definitely keep young readers flipping the pages. My next example is Chip and Curly, The Great Potato Race. Cute cover, also great title, by Kathy Bressacker and illustrated by Joshua Hines. And the first example here, and I'll just read a part of it, but this has a lot of cute puns also. Really cute book. I'll just read a portion. It says, the French fries stood with their tater tots, and the sweet potatoes practiced cheers. After stretching, Chip high-fived the tots and posed for pictures. Everything was going great until ... So, of course, you have to turn the page to find out it was going great, and now what's going to happen? Why is it not going to be going great after that? And you find that Curly arrived, leaping toward the other racers, and Chip groaned. So that was a cute page turn. And then one other example is Curly tripped and tumbled to the ground. A thought sprouted in Chip's mind. With Curly down, this was his chance to win. He zipped past Curly and took the lead. And you have this oomph here. And I think this was a good example of the illustrator controlled page turn, because you see Chip and you just see half his little body. And you kind of, the illustration is to the right. It's propelling you to the right. It's propelling you to turn that page, because you want to see, like, where is Chip going? And you turn the page and you see him here running, but then he kind of has a little bit of a dilemma, what to do next. And you were led into that, which was nice. Third example is This Book is Spineless by Lindsay Leslie, illustrated by Alice Brereton. This is a meta book where the book itself is the main character. Really clever idea. And I really like this first page turn. So I'll just read from the beginning. It says, from the middle, yes, me, the book in your hands. I'm a real scaredy pants, a fraidy cat. And I have absolutely no sense of adventure. None. Zilch. I don't even want to hear about an adventure. Nor see it, nor feel it, nor smell it, nor taste it. In fact, I'm on edge whenever you turn a page. So the author was really clever here. She puts in, whenever you turn a page, right at the bottom of the page. And to me, that's leading us right into the page turn, because she's talking about turning a page. So I want to see what happens when you turn the page. And then the illustrator has this great aha moment with a great full page spread. So they're really clever. And then the second example here, also clever. I'll just read a portion of the page. It says, "What if this is a nature story full of foul-smelling fur beasts?" Trying to get you to see it correctly. In no way do I want to be page to face with a whiffy wolverine or stinky skunk, but a sweet bunny, I could handle that. Do you smell something? My pages are starting to curl. And you can see the illustrator made it look like the pages are curling. You could see that there. So I thought that was such a clever visual because the pages are already curling. It's already a visual for me to turn the page and follow the curl of the page. And then I get to, the next page where the story continues. So that was clever. And then my last two examples, I had to put in my own two books. Scarlett's Magic Paintbrush, illustrated by Sandy Sankey, amazing illustrator, and Ready, Set, Gorilla, illustrated by another amazing illustrator, Sandy Bartholomew. And both my books were edited and art directed by Mira, and they were wonderful, and she was amazing to work with. So my first example from Scarlett, I'll show you, I think it's a good example of, with plot, how to set up an opening that talks about just gives a strong beginning that talks about the world that the character was in and then the inciting incident. So, and then hopefully a good page turn. So one day, Scarlett found a magic paintbrush and everything changed. She whispered what she wanted, and perfect fairies, unicorns, and princesses magically filled her canvases. Everything was perfect until ... Just hold that there. Everything was perfect until, and hopefully with that ellipses and the idea that everything was perfect until something happened, readers will want to turn the page and find the inciting incident right there. Scarlett lost her magic paintbrush. So hopefully that page turn works. And then one more page turn. Dad presented her with another new paintbrush that night. I could eat those fluffy marshmallows and chocolate chips for dessert, he said. Grr, those are the clouds and stars outside my window. Scarlett stomped to her room. Would she ever be able to paint like before? And hopefully readers are going to want to find out, will she ever be able to paint like before? And turn the page to find out what her tricks are for trying to paint like before. And then the last example from Scarlett is what I was talking about with the visual storyline. Sandy Sankey was great at this. She created this dog throughout the book that I didn't necessarily have in the text. Like, here's the dog following Scarlett. Here's the dog trying to give Scarlett a paintbrush when Scarlett's upset. Here's the dog helping Scarlett look for the paintbrush and sleeping. And here's the dog. Scarlett's doing a headstand, so the dog is doing a headstand. And it just continues. And the illustrator just put in this amazing visual storyline that hopefully will also help page turn and help control the pacing, and will give kids another bit of exciting story to follow that will hopefully make them continue on and read to the end. And then finally, in Ready, Set, Gorilla, the first example of a page turn is Ready, Set, Gorilla. Gorilla challenged Penguin, with Penguin winning by a flipper, ... So I said I like using ellipses. With Penguin winning by a flipper, Gorilla stuck out his foot. I win. I love these illustrations by Sandy Steen Bartholomew. And then here, the next time Gorilla asked a friend to race, the answer was no. No, no, no. Soon, Gorilla had no one to race and no friends left until... And hopefully kids want to find out, oh my goodness, is Gorilla going to have a new friend? Gopher arrived. Want to race? Sure do. Really? Let's go. So hopefully that was a good page turn. And then finally, just an example of the illustrator putting a half a tail on this page. And so kids want to turn the page to find out, what happened to that animal, what's going to happen at the end of the story. So that was really a cute and clever way to the illustrator put in, hopefully, an effective page turn. So I really hope those examples were helpful to everyone, and you can get an idea of how to use them in your own writing. So as you're drafting your own picture book manuscripts, think about adding in effective page turns. What I think is really helpful is to create a book dummy so that you can see the pacing of your own story and see if you have effective page turns. It's really simple and easy to do. You just take paper and you put it together and you can staple it together. And you can write out the text or even write text on little Post-it notes and stick those on, or just write it right on your pieces of paper. And then you could even just draw stick figures of what you think the illustrations should be. And then you can flip the pages yourself and see, first of all, do I have effective page turns that make the reader want to continue? But also in the big picture, when you're looking at your plot, your arc, your beginning, middle, and end, you can tell through your dummy, do I have a beginning, a middle, and ends? Because sometimes it gets muddied and you can't even tell. Is my beginning taking too long? Do I take too long to get to that inciting incident? Is my middle too long? Is it getting boring? Do I leave enough room at the end to give you a satisfying ending? Or is it too rushed? And you can really tell that by dummying out the book and just seeing for yourself how it works. So I really recommend doing that. I do that with all my picture books. So effective page turns and a compelling plot will really help ensure that your reader will want to read your book over and over again. Cheers to creating memorable story plots, arcs, and compelling page turns. And happy writing and creating, and enjoy the rest of Picture Book Palooza. And thanks again, Mira, for creating this wonderful community and this great event. Bye, everyone. See you soon.